San Fernando Valley, at a short distance from Hollywood, we find 7 acres of modern studio buildings, where nearly 1,000 artists and technicians are engaged in turning out a product that has become an American institution, the animated cartoons of Walt Disney. Each morning at 8 o'clock, we find the artists, actors, and film technicians, each ready to contribute his or her bit to the amusement of 500 million persons throughout the world. Much of this activity takes place in the animation building. Let's go in and see a few of the steps a cartoon goes through before reaching the screen. Here we have a writer, director, and musician concentrating upon a new idea, and a gag man adding his suggestions, while another writer is typing the rough script. Meanwhile, a sketch man starts preparing rough drawings for the first story conference with Walt. The subject under discussion is presented in picture form, somewhat like a huge comic strip. No story ever leaves one of these conferences in the same state it came in. For it is here that the weak points are strengthened through hours of discussion. Major changes are made, dull material is eliminated, and everyone present is invited to contribute suggestions and frankly criticize the story's shortcomings. Most subjects go through many meetings of this kind before actual production is started. The story director then works out his final detailed script and plans each bit of action to fit the score written by his musician. And now the animators begin making their drawings. Many of them use themselves as models to work out intricate facial contortions and bits of pantomime. This accounts for a lot of the lifelike expressions you've noticed on Pluto and other cartoon animals. For these artists not only put their hearts into their work, they even loan their own faces to the cartoon characters. Here's a typical animator at work, his drawing board lighted from below. In this way, his last drawing is always visible and acts as a guide for the next one. And this is what the top of an animator's desk usually looks like. Flipping the drawings in this manner creates the illusion of movement. The rough drawing is made in a sketchy sort of technique. You'll notice that he doesn't bother to connect his lines. By the way, all cartoon characters have to be satisfied with 3 fingers. When there are 10,000 drawings to a picture, this proves quite a time saver. This drawing of Goofy will be added to several hundred others, and when the animator flips them by hand, he gets an impression of the complete cycle of action. In this particular case, a little dance number. These rough pencil drawings are now sent to the test cameras, where they are photographed in their unfinished state, and the film returned to the animator in negative form. He examines this negative on the miniature screen of a moviola, running it forward and backward, and decides whether or not it is good enough to submit to Walt and the directors in a sweatbox session that takes place in one of the small projection rooms. Several animators are called in at one time to see their test films projected on a large screen. It is in these sweatbox sessions that all of the revisions, corrections, and improvements are openly discussed. The 7 dwarfs will never know just how much of their work was rejected and burned up as waste film. The men who produce sound effects are wizards of ingenuity. New sounds are requested every day. Baseball going through a window. Donald Duck losing his temper. These microscopic vibrations of the soundtrack are carefully measured on the film and marked down on a chart to give the animator the exact length of each sound. This tells him the number of drawings required to make Mickey say hello. Real symphony orchestras are required to record cartoon music. They play to a mechanical beat in order to make the music synchronize accurately with the picture. And now we come to a phase of the work where the ladies take over. Transferring the animator's pencil drawings to sheets of celluloid by means of pen and ink tracings is an art that requires the highest type of skill and accuracy. Steady nerves are an asset in this branch of the work when you consider that one slip of the pen would be magnified several hundred times when it reached the motion picture screen. All of the colors used in Disney cartoons are manufactured right here in the paint lab. In fact, it's doubtful if any paint store could supply 2,000 colors and break each color down to 5 shades. But it's all part of the day's work for these girls. Inventing names for all these colors was a job in itself. Finally, they ran out of names and had to resort to numbers. Here's a celluloid of Bambi being finished in color. The paint is applied to the back of the celluloid as the pen and ink outlines are on the front. After she puts the finishing touch on Bambi's nose, she'll turn him over, and we can see what he looks like right side up. There. An action like this would require about 99 of those colored celluloids you just saw. The art directors who design the backgrounds here are faced with more problems than those who plan the building of real sets. Most of the scenes are painted in watercolor, others in oil. But every background must be planned and painted with a full knowledge of the characters and movements that are to take place in the finished scene. The matching of celluloids is important, for the various levels of celluloid have to fit like a jigsaw puzzle in order to form a complete picture. And then the final step is the matching of these celluloids to the outlines of the background. Now they're ready for the camera. The photographing of a color cartoon is quite an elaborate ceremony. This skyscraper model is called the multiplane camera and requires a crew of half a dozen experts to operate it. The camera lens points downward and the pictures to be photographed lie flat. Here's Donald in the process of having his picture taken on his own private camera. First, the celluloid is placed over the background. Then, both are held in place under a glass plate while one picture is taken. The frame is lifted, the drawing removed, and the next pose is inserted. Or suppose we let Donald explain it himself.
Look, I'll show you. I'll show you. Now look, first, my foot is up here. See? Then, it's down here. Understand? Then this, and this, and that. See? When I'm going faster, I'm working. Get it? Now in this picture, I'm a farmer, see?
And that just about sums up the main steps involved in the making of a cartoon. While this industry is a comparatively young one, its future holds great promise in the world of education as well as entertainment. But no matter how rapid the growth and how important these future developments may be, we can rest assured that Walt will always find time to carry on with Mickey Mouse, Minnie, Donald, and all the rest of the little characters whose screen personalities have already lifted animated cartoons out of the novelty class and established them as a permanent industry.